Whoops. I'm promoting the Ken and Glenn show. There we go. Hey everybody, it's Monday, right? Can I assign it to that? It is Monday. So there you go. There's the Monday mistake. We're off to a rousing start today, aren't we? Welcome to Daily Distinction. I'm really glad that you're here. And Brian First In wins. Here we go. Let's get on with it. Happy day to you in Wisconsin. Hope things are going great for you. We had a really, really terrific weekend. I don't know if you had a chance to see last night's show, the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. We had a great guest. My friend Craig Duswalt was on, and he was talking about his experiences as Axl Rose's road manager. And that was very, very cool. Scott, you had the whole family on last night. I really appreciate that, man. That was awesome. You got a great plug in for hometown Crothersville, so that is great. I really appreciate that. Curtis is always on the road, man. Junction City, Kansas today. Oh, and the next few as well. All right. Well, thank you for checking in with us from Kansas. That is so cool. So glad you're here. We got some good stuff to talk about today. But Ted, glad you are here. Happy Monday to you. Glad you're starting your weekend. And you even had Ralph on with us. Scott, I appreciate that. That is so cool that you got everybody involved. That is fantastic. So appreciate that. Hey, and one of the things I mentioned over the weekend, if you didn't happen to catch the Daily Distinction programs over the weekend, one of the things that I mentioned is that you can't even sign up for this yet. We haven't really formally announced it to the public, but I wanted the viewers of Daily Distinction to know. Maybe you've heard me talk in the past about the Ultimate Business Summit. That's what Randy Pennington, Larry Wingett, and I do every year. We have decided among the three of us, this is the last year that we are going to be having it. And obviously, because of the pandemic and all the situations surrounding that, we are moving it to virtual. So for a very low fee this year, and it's going to be easier than ever to attend because you don't have to get a plane ticket to Vegas. You don't have to get a hotel room for 3 nights. You don't have to worry about meals or anything like that. And it is going to be a very, very low price to sign up. So I just wanted to say kind of a save the date. Because it made me think, Tammy and I got it wasn't a wedding invitation. It was just that, hey, save this date. This is when we're going to get married. And so I thought, well, it might be kind of good to let the viewers of Daily Distinction know to save the date. So the Ultimate Business Summit is going to be August 13 and 14. And I'll have more information on that for you very soon. But you might just want to pencil the date in because, man, we would love to have you be a part of it. We've got some incredible. Every year it's incredible. We have it's one of the things I'm so proud of because we have about 95% of the people that have attended come back. And the reason is because they get information that assists them and helps them and makes more profit for their business. Obviously, you wouldn't keep going back to something unless it delivered on what you promised. And so these folks come every year. And it's great to be able to take it to a virtual format for it's going to be under $100 to get the information. And we're just so excited about it because we also, because it's virtual, have the ability to line up some incredible guests that are going to be a part of it. The woman who created the best-selling customer service video of all time, former executive with the Disney Institute for the Walt Disney Corporation. Some of you have seen and know my buddy Joe Calloway, who's going to talk about keeping it simple, how complicating your business erodes your profitability. Mark Sanborn is going to talk about his best-selling book, million copies more, the Fred Factor, about leadership. It's really, really going to be terrific, and I really hope that you have a chance to be there. Yes, Taxi Terry. We ought to get Taxi Terry there as well. We need to do that. So just save the date on that. I'll have some more info, and I just think it's going to be such a fantastic and terrific program. So I hope you'll mark that on your calendar and consider being there. Like legal stealing, I love that. I love that, Brian. We are making it very, very affordable for those that want to attend. We'll also have a VIP package that you get some extra time with Larry and Randy and myself and the guests and debriefing sessions and post-event sessions. So some really, really cool things going on with that. So save the date. I look forward to having you be a part of that. You know, every business wants to have raving fans, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The first time that I really heard the term raving fans was the Ken Blanchard book of the same name, and it talks specifically about that. How do you create raving fans, and what can you do, organizationally, but more importantly, perhaps individually? What can we do to create raving fans? So I did some research into how do you make that happen? What does it take to create raving fans, either for your organization or for you, right? I mean, as you're out there selling and serving and communicating, what does it take to create raving fans for you in your business? And Frederick Reichhold did a lot of writing about this as well. And one of the things that he talked about, there are six steps that you need to take to create these raving fans. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But the first one I think is so important, and that is play to win-win. You can't create raving fans if you're trying to beat your customer out of something. You can't create raving fans if in terms of your employees, you can't create raving fans if you're trying to balance your books on their backs. It was always interesting to me when I was flying a lot to notice that you could tell the airlines that took care of their employees and the airlines that didn't. I mean, you very, very seldom, I don't think I've ever met somebody that works for Southwest Airlines that was unhappy about their job, that Southwest had their back. Now, it didn't mean they always agreed with everything that Southwest did, but they always felt like it was a win-win situation to work for Southwest Airlines. There are other airlines that feeling, I started to say that spirit, was not mutual. So, you can tell. Yeah, don't you just get a feel when you walk in a store if the employees are happy or not? We just know it. So playing to win-win means not only do you play to win-win with your customers, but it also means that you play to win-win with your employees, that you are not always trying to control them or dominate them, or that they become an expense, that you minimize. You help your employees have wins as well. It's absolutely critical that in today's world, particularly when there's a lot of good people out there looking for jobs, it's one of those things that's just a reality about the current situation. We can improve our team if we become the kind of place they want to work. If they want to be at a place that encourages winning. That's how we have to let them know that we play. We play the game, not only for us to have our wins, and we have to keep our doors open, right? But for them to win as well. There are places where I feel as a customer, it is a winning situation to do business there. There are other situations where you go in and you feel like you are haggling and you're battling them to buy their product. Are there places that you've done business that you go, why are you making this so hard? I'm trying to give you money. You're making this hard. That's not playing to win-win. So that's one of the focuses. That's one of the six, is to play to win-win. Oh, hey, great. Scott, you're bringing folks into this as well, too. I appreciate you doing that. Jerry, oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Jerry is one of our great friends and one of our top folks at the Ultimate Business Summit. So that's a testimonial from someone that's not only an attendee of UBS, but also part of our intensive group that meets afterwards. So Jerry, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so number one is play to win-win. Here's one that might surprise you. Be picky. If you want to create raving fans, you got to be picky about who you want to be your fans. Organizations, if you really think about it, and individuals who have raving fans don't try to be all things to all people. They don't try to be generic. They are picky about who they seek to serve. Now, this might surprise you, but one of the examples I used in my book, What Customers Really Want, one of the examples I used of being picky was Walmart. That surprise you? You might think Walmart's about the least picky. Yeah, not so. Walmart doesn't want the high-end shopper. They don't market for them. What do they want? The people that are out there seeking low prices every day. Try to buy a tuxedo at Walmart. Try to buy cufflinks at Walmart. Don't sell them. You know why? Because their target market, who they've picked, isn't in the market for those products. So you've heard me say here before, the first cornerstone to distinction is clarity. But clarity means you're just as precise about who you are not as who you are. So who are you trying to serve? Who are you trying to sell? If you want raving fans, you've got to be pretty picky about who you want, right? So you wanted raving fans, did you? Yeah, absolutely. And there it is, Jerry. You're modeling the behavior I'm talking about. So I appreciate that, my friend. It's kind of funny because Walmart is picky. You can even say, look at your favorite sports teams, and they're kind of picky. I mean, in a lot of ways, the Indianapolis Colts, my favorite football team, they love fans in Texas, but they really don't. But they're very picky that if you live in Indiana, we really need you to be our fan, right? And so that's where their marketing goes to, and that's where their efforts go to. Mike, what a great comment. Every company picks their customers, but some don't realize they're even doing it. And there's part of the problem, isn't it? When it's unintentional, it's sloppy, right? It's not as targeted and as precise as it really needs to be. Mike, you're exactly right. And some not only pick their customers, but when they're doing it unintentionally, they tend not to get the right ones, the ones that will be devoted with loyalty, the ones that will refer, will recommend. They'll become advocates of your business, not just customers. That's part of the reason we have to be very choosy about who our customers are, because if we aren't, it gets to be a whole lot tougher. Here's number 3, taken from my pal Joe Calloway. Keep it simple. Very few people are raving fans of complexity. I mean, think about it. Do you ever go, gosh, I love buying stuff from their website because you have to click and I get to see so many different pages and I have to go through so many different hoops to get there. That's such a joy. No, that's not what we do. The simpler things are, the easier it is to become a fan of it. When you look back at their history, and I know this is an overused example, but when you look back at their history, man, Apple shouldn't even be around. I mean, the financial problems they went into and the horrible management that they had for many years and on and on. But Apple was saved by its raving fans. I was one of them. I'd show up for a speech with my Mac laptop and my PowerBook, as they were called then, and literally I had people say, "Why didn't you bring a real computer?" Right? Or they would say, "Oh, these are so tough to hook up," and they're and it wasn't true. It was just that was the assumption because they weren't the norm. But there were enough raving fans of Apple that it enabled the company to survive through such difficulty. And why were we raving fans? Because it just worked. It was simple. It was easy. At that time, this is a long time ago, but at that time, it was almost like if you learned one program, you kind of knew every program on the Mac, right? I mean, if I knew how to do Microsoft Word, I could kind of figure out PageMaker. So keeping it simple is one of the most important things that we can do as a business. Yet so many times we layer on complexity. We layer on more things that we don't realize is making it more difficult for our customer. Don't mean to be too critical of them, but the doctor's office that Tammy and I go to right now, if they want to refer you elsewhere, they make a referral. We have had 2 instances where they've made a referral and I go to the specialist only to find they don't take my insurance. Wouldn't that be part of what would happen? And so now I've driven 20 minutes each way to get to an office. I found out that so they revamp the referral process, and what they do is they find a doctor that will accept your insurance, and then they give you a paper that shows you, that proves that they are referring you, and now it's your responsibility to call the doctor's office and initiate everything. I long for the day it was simpler, that if the doctor had a referral to make, the assistant would say, "What day is good for you?" You said Thursday. Great, I'll give you a call. And they made the appointment. And they made it simple for you to continue to follow up on your healthcare needs. But instead, it's just gotten more complex. Everything seems like it's gotten more complex. And the organizations that we love are the ones that keep it simple. I keep talking about these big cliche organizations, but isn't that why so many of us buy from Amazon? I just click here and it's on my doorstep. Simple. What could you do today to simplify the process of doing business with you? Now, maybe you work for a big company as a salesperson with a big company. That rule still applies. Maybe you have a dedicated cell phone that is you only give to your top customers. So if that thing rings, man, it is like the bat phone. It's going to be picked up immediately, right? Years ago, holy cow, many years ago, when I worked in radio, and that's what we called it, was the bat phone. And that was the boss. And only the boss or somebody you were about to interview and put on the air, that was the only people that could have that number. And obviously, because you're in a radio studio, it didn't ring. But they had this big light set up that would like go off and would flash in your eyes because it meant you had to grab it immediately. It was the boss calling. Well, maybe we need something that simple. We have a bat phone for our top customers, a dedicated phone line for them that if they call, by the way, and you can do that so easily. For example, on an iPhone, did you know it's got what's called an eSIM in here. So you can get a second number. But you don't have to get a second phone. You can program it into the iPhone. And that way, if that number rings, man, you're all over it. You got it. You're there. So anything that you can do to make yourself more accessible, to keep it simple so it's easy to connect with you with your customers. Critically important to create raving fans. Here's the 4th: reward the right results. My great friend, Dr. Michael LaBeouf, wrote what to this day I think is one of the greatest business books ever written. And it's called GMP, Greatest Management Principle. It was later reissued and retitled as Getting Results. But here's the greatest management principle. Behavior rewarded is behavior repeated. Now, that sounds very simple. Behavior rewarded is behavior repeated. Sounds very simple, right? Until you really start drilling into, sometimes we don't reward the right things. Or sometimes we reward something different than we consider. Oh, did you have one too? Scott had a bat phone at his station. I love it. I think, and man, I'll tell you what, I said that, Scott, and my gut just kind of clenched just a little bit because every time that light went off of my face, I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done wrong? What are they going to tell me now? Right. So let's make certain that we reward the right results. Here's what I mean by that. One of the examples that Michael used many years ago was this one. Major League Baseball had never had a work stoppage. And then there was a Supreme Court ruling about free agency. And now, there's more negotiation and everything. So there was a period of time and the players go on strike. And the owners, wanting to resolve the strike so they can start playing baseball again, capitulated to the players' demands, gave them raises, boom, baseball's back. Now that agreement expires And what do the players think they have to do to get what they want? Not negotiate, go on strike. Because inadvertently, what the owners had done was to reward the behavior that they didn't want. And we've seen more of that in baseball than any other sport, because it's the one where the owners rewarded not negotiating, but rewarded striking. One of the examples that I've seen in some of the work that I've done, working with a restaurant franchise chain, and they decided they wanted to be the fastest drive-through going. And so they set up rewards and had timers, at every drive-through. Maybe you've seen some of the countdown clocks that they have for the drive-through. If you're in a fast food restaurant, they wanted to be the fastest. And so they set up a series of rewards for those who were the fastest in getting cars through the drive-through, because that was what they wanted. That was what they rewarded. Behavior rewarded is behavior repeated. So these restaurants focused on getting everybody through quickly, which they thought was going to be great, until they realized their scores in terms of customer service was rapidly declining. Why? They rewarded speed, but they didn't reward being friendly, and they didn't reward accuracy in the order. So what happened was, to get the reward, these restaurants were pushing everybody through, but they barely smile or say thank you. They were just throwing change at you and throwing your food at you to get you to the next one. And it might be the wrong food in the bag. It was just whatever it took to get you to get through the drive-through, because they weren't being rewarded for accuracy and friendliness and connection with customers and appreciating the customers. What they were rewarding was getting you through the line, and that's exactly what they got. But it wasn't what the customer wanted. So if you want to create raving fans of your customers, make certain that you reward the right results. Hey, Weldon, glad you're here and glad you checked in. Thanks for being with us last night, too. That was a fun show last night. I'm really glad that you were there and part of that. Here's number 5 of the 6. Listen hard and talk straight. In other words, really listen to what your customers are saying. Really listen to what your colleagues are saying. And don't be afraid to give them the straight scoop. What we find is, as you go through the research of customer communication, is that while customers don't want to hear no, they would rather hear no than a long maybe. They would certainly rather hear no than I'm going to check into that and get back with you, and then we never get back with them. Or give them a no that we could have given them a week earlier, but we strung it out just to make them feel like we were researching. We've got to be willing to listen and accept the criticisms that customers bring to us. But we also got to be willing to talk straight with them about what we do and what we don't do. All of that is absolutely important. Hey, sweetie, raving fans only. That's what we're looking for. You betcha. See, I love it when my wife listens to what I'm saying. I've got to be in the studio. No, I'm kidding. So thank you, honey. Yeah, listen hard and talk straight. We got to do that to create raving fans. Here's the 6th one, and I think this is really an interesting one, because it's a nice twist, and that is preach what you practice. See, we've heard that the other way around. Practice what you preach, and we obviously ought to be doing that. We ought to be practicing what we're preaching. But if we want to build raving fans, we got to preach what we practice. In other words, we got to be willing to tell our story. But yet so few organizations have really focused on what do they practice. Notice how that ties to the other ones. They haven't planned on playing to win-win with customers. They haven't been picky about who their customers are. They haven't kept it simple. They haven't rewarded the right results. They don't talk straight in the communication with their customers. Therefore, it's hard for them to preach what they practice, because they haven't really defined what they practice yet. So define your practice and then tell folks about it. There's an old saying, and I love the old saying. It is that you've heard the thing, don't toot your own horn. And there was a funny phrase. I saw that he who doth not tooteth his own horn, his horn doth not get tooted. In other words, If you're not willing to tell your story, don't wait on your competition to do it. Don't wait on somebody else to do it. You've got to be willing to preach what you practice. But as I say in the book, Iconic, you got to make certain it's congruent. In other words, that you're not preaching more than you're practicing. So make certain there's a congruency between what you preach and what you practice. It's got to be the same. But there's nothing wrong with telling your story. So to create raving fans, those are the 6 steps. But now one more little piece of advice: be prepared for raving enemies. That's from my pal Larry Winget. That if you are distinctive enough to create raving fans, you're also going to be aggressive enough to create raving enemies. That's part of the process. If all you want to do is float along in the middle, you probably will not create enemies, and you probably won't create raving fans, and you likely won't be successful. You'll just be floating along. There's going to be criticism anytime you put yourself out there, but that's where the rewards are too. So be willing to have a few raving enemies when the response is that you create raving fans. So if you joined us late, the way to create raving fans is, number 1, play to win-win. Make certain that your customer feels like they have won as well. Be picky about who you serve. You can't be all things to all people. No one is a raving fan of a generic. Keep it simple. Don't make it complicated. Simplify your processes. Simplify your working arrangements. Simplify everything you can with your customers. Make sure with your team you're rewarding the right results. Hey, here's another idea on rewarding the right results. It's one of those things that bothers me all the time when you see something like 40% off for new customers. How does that make your old customers feel? Man, I've been paying you every month for 5 years. And you're going to give somebody who hadn't paid you at all 40% off? So I'm not saying you don't have offers for new customers. Make certain that you're taking care of those that have been around a while too, so they don't feel like they're left out. Listen hard and talk straight. Be willing to listen to your customers. Not just hear them, but to really listen and absorb what they're saying. Be willing to talk straight with them as well. Then tell your story. Preach what you practice to create raving fans. Scott, man, you've got the whole family on here. I thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, Darcy, I never thought of it that way. We got great parenting tips too. You know, but I've said for a long, long time, I truly believe that the aspects that make us great in business make us great at home as well, and vice versa, right? I mean, saying, you know, in our families to make certain that we tell people how much we care for them and appreciate them is something we need to be doing a better job in business with our customers and employees, that we care about them and we appreciate them. So I hadn't thought of that for that 6, but I really appreciate that, because that's congruent with what I love talking about. And by the way, the other aspect of this is raving fans crave distinction. So when you create distinction, you're going to do a better job of creating those raving fans that we all desire. Hey, that does it for us for today for Daily Distinction. I look forward to talking to you. We're trying to line up a couple guests for later this week, and we'll have some fun with that. I'll pass some more information about that to you as well. Hey, if you tuned in late, just doing a save the date on this. You can't even sign up for it yet. But just kind of pencil in your calendar and save the date for the Ultimate Business Summit, going to be August 13 and 14. Hope to have you there. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we get together for another Daily Distinction. See you soon. Thanks for watching.